Whenever a franchise gets successful enough, it's going to get its own merchandise. We, as victims of capitalism, have all become null to such a reality. But our beloved Skylanders series is a unique approach to this. Rather than being a series which, in its massive popularity, obtains merchandise, or one in which is conceived to specifically become its own merchandise, Skylanders chose to passionately breed those two concepts in a way, whatever this franchise even is at this point. Oh yeah, I know. Nothing. Skylanders from day one was neither a toy line nor gaming franchise. If you are dull and strict in your ways, you may think of it as one or the other. Your mind isn't nearly as complex enough to understand the depth and nuance that such a franchise offers. Ignore the fact that the series with an ice-skating storm chicken, Skylanders is exclusively for the most intellectual and neurodivergent minds. Skylanders is both toy line and video game, but being a franchise garnering success, well, I'm sure you're more than capable of fathoming the horrors that a capitalistic beast like Activision will want to use for the series. When the iron is as hot as Dynarang's meaty thighs, you can choose between two courses of action for your explosive media franchise. A, try and understand restraint so you can have a franchise that both evolves upon itself and its audiences, ensuring what could become a timeless classic. Or B, grab that dead horse by the balls and don't let go until dry. You can imagine what Activision found more appealing. So we'll be discussing the devastating impact that this lust for expansion led to. I'm Spike Whitehorn, and I welcome you to my obsessive ramblings. First off, I think it's most suitable we talk about the actual Skylanders franchise itself, given all the strange figure releases it's had over the years. Although, this really pertained to the actual officially released Skylanders. I'm sorry, I hate to disappoint the highly esteemed Skylanders fan base, but the Cleveland Brown Skylanders is not real. Neither is Basketball. They are both custom figures and there is no trace of them actually existing in-game. You have all been lied to. The Fred Flintstone Skylander is 100% real, though. Trust me, I'm a YouTuber. I know everything! You'd think that SSA wouldn't have any weird figure releases, since the series was new at the time, so they weren't sure if it'd be a success. But that is, in fact, incorrect, as greed was a sin fully applicable to this franchise since day one. Might I introduce you to Volcanic Volt? Well, I'm probably not the one to introduce you to it, since you seem a bit into the outdoors yourself. This pre-flattened figure is one you get as promotion for spending a certain amount of money at Best Buy, or alternatively, if your kingdom is united, you could get it at a game store called Game. Geez, ain't that a name as plain as their food pre-colonization? Like, seriously, at least CEX allows you to make jokes pronouncing its name as sex. EB Games would never. Well, what does this figure do in game anyways? It unlocks a new arena in the battle mode. Well, not really. It unlocks a lava-themed recolor of an existing battle arena, so if you're that obsessed with lava, I guess it's worth the $100 you sell for online. I'd complain, but sadly, as someone who bought these real-world loot boxes, I don't think I'm allowed to. Honestly, I'm more surprised at the existence of a rare SSA figure than anything. Then we get on to the weirder figure releases. I've talked about them before, but love them or hate them, we must discuss the minis. Started off as a promotion, and hey, this is totally unrelated to another video subject, okay? These figures were once part of a Frito-Lay promotion and assist you during gameplay. Or maybe they hinder you, or maybe they literally do nothing. I've gotten a lot of different reports from a lot of people who lack physical activity. Point is, this gameplay currently on screen, yeah, that's about all they do. Until Skylanders Trap Team decided to re-release these as playable characters sold in standard packs, making them your typical Skylanders release. Also making them technically the only repos for a gimmick Skylander to obtain, by virtue of the Giants having minis in their Frito-Lay promotion, and being a generally pointless addition loathed by fans. They also had these duo packs of the minis in their standard core counterpart, meaning you'd be buying two versions of the same Skylander. one with an extra upgrade, and the other with a smaller hitbox. As you can imagine, something as bland as getting two of the same character is something only Walmart exclusives are capable of. Makes it easier to get yourself a third Gil Runt after you mutilated the second one, though. Which does remind me, Walmart exclusives. Toys R Us had the iconic legendary variants, as well as Robo when literally no other retailer wanted to stock them. And EB Games, GameStop for those who don't deserve rights, had the iconic Dark Edition starter packs, and also the mystical variants for some reason. Oh well. Red is a cool color, and makes these fellas weirdly patriotic, but Walmart? They never had a consistent variant to go off with. They largely only had chase variants and packs of other Skylanders, such as this lovely pack. That's right, though this has been discussed quite frequently by the Skylanders fandom. I mean, can I really go without discussing this? We don't get that many situations where the merchandise of Skylanders manages to sneak its way into the Skylanders products themselves. But apparently, Activision found a snapshot turning into a Spinjitzu Master, a worthy enough occasion to have him packaged into a character you'd most certainly forget existed if it weren't for being featured in Wave 1. Which does remind me, there are a few other times when Skylanders have re-released their own figures alongside external products. You can tell they had a few extra landfills to, fill when it came to their sidekick figures, so they just had to include a leftover stock in other places, such as the A2Z of Skylands, featuring a quote, cool special bonus inside, and who could argue with that? Could be Trigger Snappy or that third Gil Runt I needed, depending on which one you got, I guess. Leftover stock is a bit of its own reoccurring theme with these. Supply versus demand, my fellow basement dwellers. And when they have a high supply, well, that may or may not result in them having a few too many figures of them left over. Of course, one could donate leftover stock to charity given that these are still toys, but if there are two things Activision hates, it's having good PR and valuing ethics. So instead, they chose to re-release their older figures from Swap Force in these Skylanders Champions packs. People say these are actually to get figures out to promote the show, but I think we all know the real reason, and it was not to give Legend of Spyro fans another Cinder figure after submerging their last one in their reproductive fluids. Imaginators. I mean, what a divided game. There are people who absolutely hate this game, and there's people who hate themselves instead. For some reason, they chose to release the base version of Chompy Mage as an Amazon exclusive, even though he had a variant which you can buy in stores. It doesn't matter. Chompy Mage is a mediocre Skylander in an even worse game, so I lack sympathy for it. Other variants have weird stories to them. The 3DS starter packs had exclusive variants for a while too. Spyro's Adventure gave us a black variant of Spyro, Giants gave us a variant of everyone's favorite substance abuser, and we got a nifty volcanic variant of an already volcanic character. All three of these had an initial release of being exclusive to the handheld starter packs, but of course, if you hate having more video games to play in this video game franchise, they'd end up releasing single packs of the individual characters. And then we get on to Skylanders Trap Team for Nintendo 3DS, which doesn't actually include any variants. Just a Wave 1 Trap Master and a sidekick who already released 2 years ago. Now, the 3DS versions didn't sell that well, so I can completely understand them not wanting to include a new game variant, is what I would say, because for some ancient's forsaken reason, they chose to release an in-game variant of this man in the last wave, which meant if they had released Gnarly Barkley, the 3DS starter pack, it would have had the same release schedule as the previous games in terms of handheld exclusive variants. But instead, they chose to keep this inadequate fucker in the starter pack instead. This figure's at least pretty cool though. But then we get on to the next game, and they chose, instead of releasing a new variant of an existing character, they include a completely unique Skylander in the starter pack for the Wii and 3DS versions, who have their own meta. And they're a scaly Dilf. Apparently his moveset is pretty good. Why they chose to add an exclusive character with a unique moveset to the version of the game where you don't actually play as the character themselves is beyond me. Of course, these games didn't sell that well, and they had a bunch of leftover stock on account of being a Skylanders game released on Nintendo consoles in the year 2015. Skylanders starter packs seriously are their own beast. You'd think that it's pretty simple, right? There's a standard starter pack, the Dark Edition if you're an aspiring nicotine addict, and 3DS version which bundles some Wave 1 Skylanders you probably already own. But then we get on to these, the Walmart exclusive bundle packs. I really don't understand why these exist. Besides being in a cooler, more collectible box, these are pretty useless. The one for Swap Force gives you 4 extra toys. 3 of them are all of the magic element. So why though? Maybe that's intentional. Make as much overlap in the elements as you can so consumers are forced to buy even more to get through all the elemental gates. Oh well. I'm sure with all the money you'd get by selling this useless bundle on eBay, you'd more than make up for the necessary Skylanders. Skylanders Trap Team is even worse, giving you 5 new Skylanders, and only 2 of them are of overlapping elements. Which is pretty sweet, until you realize, oh yeah, this is Trap Team. So the Skylanders still can't access elemental gates. You get an undead trap, which, thanks I guess. Skylanders Superchargers is the only actual good one, despite having the worst packaging of the 3 in my opinion. A sea and sky vehicle, so now you can access all the vehicle sections. But the choices for the vehicles and Skylander are weak. Why not choose the Stealth Stinger since you already have Stealth Elf in the starter pack? And hell, choose Dive Clops instead of Smash It to make this a trifecta of supercharger combos. It's not terrible for what it is, but calling it a super deal is pretty generous. Skylanders Superchargers in general is a great example of just some of the strangest releases for this franchise to get. Part of the gimmick was that the Superchargers got to interact with the vehicles into these combos. So naturally, you'd get lots of combo packs that, well, combines the 2 figures for the pack. And then Terrafin had to tow Jetpack's vehicle for being illegally parked mid-air. There are only 2 of these triple packs, which makes their existence that much weirder. These weren't even exclusive to any specific retailers, they just exist.
Man, the new Skylanders Trap Team game is pretty cool, but I wish a starter pack specifically on Wii and mobile devices would come bundled with
Yeah, for some reason they officially released the 2 worst versions of Skylander Interpreter with Crayola Color Alive. Now you can, coloring book. I only remember using Skylanders coloring books once, and that was to color in Winterfest Lobster because I thought he was cool. I still don't own him to this day. This is a great transition into my next subject. Crayola Color Alive was an app where you could color in your favorite Skylanders. And, then you scan them, and, wow, that's cool. It's a 3D model of your recolor. I'm pretty sure some kids wishing they could have made their own variants got a kick out of this. But don't worry, you can do your own recolors of Skylanders and play as them nowadays with the miracle of emulation. As long as you're acquiring your ROMs legally, because that's how we're all using Dolphin Emulator, right? Maybe if I mod Rufus to look like a fuckboy, then people will finally understand him for the sex icon he is and stop hating on him. Sorry, I have unresolved baggage and unhealthy ways of coping with it. Unrelated, but have you ever been all alone in your bed, left with only your thoughts, so you start to fantasize wishing that your favorite Skylander would be willing to sleep with you? I never done that myself, of course, but if you want to sleep with Chop Chop or Spyro, then by all means. I'm only willing to sleep with that Spyro if you put a fedora on it, though. These plushies were bundled with blankets and, I believe, pajamas. But I mean, who wants that when you can have a plushie of some really cool Skylanders? I really wish they made one of Dino-Rang. I'm really curious as to why they didn't make one.
Yeah, my fans will probably cut a hole in it and fuck it.
You know what? Talking about Dino-Rang is getting me all, maybe we should switch to another type of Skylanders media, specifically trading cards in the form of Skylanders Battlecast. I thought bringing another SkyTuber to talk about this would be best, but honestly, I can't be bothered breaking into someone's house again. Skylanders has its own history with trading cards. dating back all the way into Skystones in the Pirate Seas expansion, before it got retconned into the much more preferred version of Skystones. Personally, my favorite installment in the Skystone series is Skystones Overdrive, but weirdly enough, the best version of vanilla Skystones is the one on Trap Team 3DS? I'm sure we all as Skylanders fans wanted actual physical Skystone to play with, but outside of food collaborations, the closest we'd get is, what the fuck even is this? Yet another failed attempt at trying to capitalize on the portable market. I'm sorry, but fact of the matter is that Skylanders fans lack the cognitive capacity to play a turn-based strategy game. Like, seriously, do you expect there to be more than one Skylanders fan with autism powerful enough to read 19 pages of rules on how to play the game and convince someone else to play it with them? At least it was a streamlined mobile game. You could even touch the Skylanders. And I've been on the internet long enough to know how desperate people are to touch Stealth Elf, but her reaction is...
I can make you disappear.
pretty justified, honestly. Broccoli Guy just expresses his own lack of consent, and honestly, good for him.
Crossing some boundaries here.
But this video isn't about mobile games. What about the cards? Every single one of them is absolutely stunning. Lots of them use the standard promotional art of each character, but lots of these also use original artwork, which is incredibly beautiful and honestly wasted on a game like this. So much of this art should be put up in museums, or sold as posters, yet they're just printed onto cheap cards in a game no one remembers nor cares about. And that's saying a lot coming from me. But what if card games aren't your thing? What if you're more interested in inflatables? No, not like monetary inflation. And no, not that kind of inflation. I'm mainly referring to pool inflatables. I hate to say it, but I don't think you're in luck. We still have this, pool floaty, but that just has some PNGs of some Skylanders. There's also this snapshot costume with an inflatable sword? No! We have too many trap masters wielding that basic weapon already. Only lame Skylanders wield a sword anyways, like Aurora. Or Chop Chop. Said what I said. Speaking of Halloween costumes, if you're someone a little more performative, then I have the perfect thing for you. Skylanders roleplay gear. If only they made Skylanders roleplay gear in adult sizes, then people could get some proper use out of it. As a wise sensei once said, no being locked up in chains, no gain. These are the Tree-Rex smashing hands. Man, Activision really has an affinity with the word smash in their Skylanders branding, eh? Anyone who thinks that fact aged poorly is radically inferior and doesn't want to be locked in a room with the nut-gargling king himself. You ever regret writing something into a script? Because I sure don't. Follow-up question, do you ever think that you aren't intimate enough with the Skylanders franchise? I mean, you're only interacting with the Skylanders products when you place the figures on or off the portal, unless you're adjusting the portal itself. Or, of course, if you're violently groping your Dynarang figure during gameplay. What if you want to be interacting with Skylanders media your entire playthrough? Well, you're in luck. You can get these officially licensed Skylanders controllers for the Xbox 360, Xbox One, and Wii with the nunchuck included. No PS3 controllers that I could find despite the series stemming from a PlayStation mascot. Oh well, these have very vibrant and nostalgic designs, which include some really funky Skylanders symbols, as well as the promotional art of the Skylanders themselves. Oh, and there's also the, mobile version of Skylanders, which has its own controller which slides right into the portal itself, which is honestly pretty clever. The controller also confirms that the Xbox button layout is the correct one. Or, wait, the button colors are different? A, B, and X and Y are swapped respectively, but that makes X and Y the same colors as the Dreamcast controller,
making the button layout more similar to that than any other console. Which means one thing, and one thing only. The Dreamcast controller is now officially the correct way to play these games! You know, Microsoft's console designs have been falling off a bit. If they really want to compete, they need to make their next console an RGB Skylanders portal and bring this admittedly snazzy controller back. Alright, I've saved this off long enough. What about these Fun Play Hideaway sets? These aren't weird. They're like positive connotation worthy. We have two different islands that both connect with each other, featuring a fun, literal water slide so you can pretend your Skylanders are leading a dictatorship and banishing those who don't obey public order with. You have Flynn's Dread Yacht from Skylanders Giants. It's not the same without the dragon front and the weird paint job. And if you want to get a little freaky, you can put your Skylanders in a Dr. Crankcase's lair. The box claiming that Dr. Crankcase teamed up with Chaos in this. Yep, that's absolutely what happened in this game. But hey, it has a Chaos figure. No Crankcase, but at least we have some merchandise of the series antagonist. This is the perfect playset to display your bushwhacker unsuspecting elf figures. Overall, just great ways to capture Skylands itself in physical memorabilia, since sadly we didn't have much merchandise of Skylanders outside of its titular Skylanders. Man, that was pretty fun. All that, talking about Skylanders. Oh, by the way, help me turn this into an epidemic by spreading this channel by sharing it with other people. Or leave ego increasing and humbleness decreasing positive comments. Critique would also be helpful. Go on. Or don't, it's not like this is canon anyways. Wait, what does that even mean?